Hey, welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways, Coyote in the Highlands. Excuse the little camera bump there. Not enough to start over. So today I want to talk a little bit about programming again, This is one of those emotional reactivity program concepts. The current political climate relies on this emotional reactivity, right? And you drive people's minds and behaviors and fears and anxieties down certain pathways, right? You've got, overgeneralizations about the enemy. You're creating enemies out of thin air. There's fear and outrage, and a lot of it is constant activation of the sympathetic nervous system. And people say, hey, I watch the news once in a while and I see this and I'm shocked. Me personally, I don't watch news, but every once in a while I'll be in a waiting room or something, and depending on who's on, it'll be CNN or MSNBC, both of which are absolutely insane. Like, if you come from outside of this and you watch just 10 minutes, I'm surprised people are not killing each other in the streets based on CNN and MSNBC reporting. Because if you just came in and believed most of what they said from nowhere, and you were just a regular active person, you'd be out shooting people. It's crazy. Fox isn't much better. The thing is, Fox is more strident. The few times I have to see that, it's more strident and it's more snarky, but it's less, it doesn't push the same I'm gonna die if I don't kill all the Republicans types of buttons, like the CNN and MSNBC and even NPR stuff is deep sympathetic nervous system buttons, and there's no laughter, there's no snark. I mean, as mean as Fox can be, at least they have a little snark. It's crazy. It's bad. So, the media is obviously a way to stoke those fires and control those emotional reactions and urge your investment in a particular thing to be against. Of course, this is the opposite of how we should be working with each other. I feel like they're literally preventing mankind's general search for brotherhood. I mean, yeah, we search for power over others, and we search for safety and security, and all the cultural programs are involved, but there is, on some levels, with many people, a search for commonality and brotherhood among men, and I really feel like the media is deliberately targeting that, trying to prevent that. Now, why would they do that is, because I'm going to use the evil phrase. I'm going to say deep state. You're not going to like that because that is now a conservative or alt-right labeled piece of information. It's funny how they do that to you. The people who actually run the establishment state or the deep state or whatever, the corporate state, the fascist state, tell you that labeling them is a conspiracy theory, and then you just buy it. You're just like, yep, it's conspiracy theory. It's the enemies who say that, which is just absolutely hilarious. You can call it the establishment state. That's what I usually call it. A deep state is a little bit of a scare word, but I want you to just go ahead and process that. Most of the people who are making the decisions running the government are not elected and are careerists. Think that through, And they do have ties, and there's a revolving door. At the higher levels, you go from the media company to a presidential administration to a media company, to a lobbying company. Like, these career paths, you're all tied in together. So, one of my friends in this conversation that we're having believes that we won't get anywhere until people wake up to how this process has taken root in themselves and learn to stop being ruled by the reactivity being provoked of them by the mass media. And that's where it gets really hard. It takes a lot and fairly constant effort and constant deprogramming and constant revision to get away from that. These people know what they're doing. They're using science-based, evidence-based, knowledge-based techniques to excite, control, antagonize, stress, anxiety you out. Okay, they can put you into a panic with just 5 minutes of television programming. They know how to do it. And they're not independent. The media is not independent of the government or the corporatists. The corporatists basically run large segments of the government and the media, and it's like a three-legged stool. Okay, they exist together. It's one stool. They're not separate. You know, they know how to do it. They know what they're doing. They know how they're doing it. Even if you can slip through the cracks, say on Twitter, you can slip through the cracks and develop a space for yourself that's very positive and doesn't get involved too much in the politics and the outrage of the moment. That's actually not hard to do. And with just a little bit of awareness, it's pretty easy to mute certain words for a week, 30 days, whatever, because of the outrage of the moment or whatever. Even then, though, you're going to get sucked into the long-term propaganda. You know, the idea of changes in thinking that are not positive and not controlled by you. So, you know, this is really hard stuff in a way. It's really simple in a way. Just don't engage. That's a really good idea, plan, method. You know, Facebook is worse. So here's the thing, right? If you're on the right, a lot of this stuff presents itself as culture war, values, morals, individual rights, freedom of speech. If you're on the left right now, freedom of speech is something that needs to be controlled. Individual rights are something that need to be controlled. All this stuff needs to be limited and ruled by the proper elitist authority. So that's not what you're concerned about. What does it get your outrage? What gets your fear is going to be stuff like CO2, methane, cows, you know, the global climate crisis. Sea levels are rising again, you know, except we're going to have an ice age, but we're not going to have an ice age, and wet bulb mythology. Okay, and this is all basically mythology. I'm not denying that global climate change happens because global climate changes all the time. You know, I've talked about how I don't like the Eden mythology of the static, perfect garden where humans just need to shut up and go away or tend the garden the way they're supposed to, according to nature or whoever your personal deity set is. Whatever. You know, I love nature. We do what we can to involve ourselves with nature, but this isn't the thing. The climate change crisis, you know, that's where you're going to be at. So you're doing enlightenment stuff. You're all full of positivity and everything's great, and you're on Facebook and you're with all the enlightenment people, and then you have to yell and scream and be negative about the climate. Well, just no, don't. You know, if you want to make a positive change, make a positive change. Don't yell and scream about negatives. Say, hey, you know, I picked up some trash today. You know, we should get a club together and, like, just do some Instagram stuff. Show off the trash we pick up every day. You know, 5 pieces. You know, you get a couple million people picking up 5 pieces of trash a day. That's going to make a big difference. Does it affect global warming? Maybe. Very possibly. You know, plant plants, plant trees, plant stuff in your cities. You know, work for shaded parking, work for tree-shaded streets, work for things. It all matters, but stop working against stuff, you know. And the programs are just as strong and just as bad and just the same. There's no way you're going to let go of the climate crisis and live your life. You're going to have someone to hate, someone to fight, someone to be against. You know, look down on all the rural people who are in the red states, whatever it is you're going to do, that's all programmed there. You're going to still continue to own it. And as the number of people in the Enlightenment community who have this fundamental program negativity and won't look at their minds, it's okay. You can shut off your mind and go, woo, off the fence. That's totally fine. But maybe, in terms of dealing with your enlightenment, it would be a good idea to program your mind to actually focus and see and perceive things a little differently. You know, you have this threat module, right? Part of your whatever. If you use a cybernetic map for your mind, which isn't, I don't know, it's an easy map for people to use. You've got a computer module sitting in there. It's the threat module, and it's always active, and it's taking over, and it wants to never give up its power or its space. Well, you got to program things around. You got to deprogram, reprogram. Let it go, man. Let it go. But the media programming, people are just like, oh, just don't let it in your head. No, you have to just not consume it. The stuff is very intelligently done to control you, to elicit reactions, whether you want to or not, even if you're aware of it, So don't consume it. That's really the answer is don't consume it. You're not going to miss out on anything, all right? You'll know if gas prices go down when you pass the gas station. So you're not going to miss anything major. It's just relax and stop consuming a little bit. Relax. You can't deprogram from this just by saying, oh, I'm deprogrammed. You have to stop the consumption and relax. So that's the message of the morning. Stay sideways.